everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Steph if you're new, and today is a very exciting video because it has been so highly requested since I posted the first part, which was the only books I've ever given 5 stars video. If you didn't know, I judge my books very harshly. Not very harshly, but only for 5 stars. Like, I'll give books like 4 stars often, but 5 stars, it has to be like next level, incomparable to other books I've read to get on my 5-star list. I'm pretty sure there's like 20 books on that list. Some books from the last video I probably wouldn't even include anymore, but like I'm gonna leave them on there because at the time I thought they were 5 stars. There's no reason to go back and change that because that was how I felt at the time, but obviously opinions change. I changed, what I like has changed, and I have a fair few books to add to this list. A lot of them are a lot different than the books from my last video. A lot of books from my last video were just like cute romance books, and this we've got some depressing ass books, but we also do have a pile of fun books as well. So I'm gonna start with a book I read right after filming that first 5-star reads video that I wish I could have included in it, and it's Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I read this in June. It has gone viral recently, as it should. I've seen it all over my TikTok. It deserves it because it is so good. Childhood friends to lovers to strangers to lovers. But it's past and present perspective, which, you know, a lot of my 5-star reads are like that. I feel like it adds so much to the story, so much to the characters, and makes it so much deeper and more meaningful to me. But this story is about Macy and Elliot. They met when they were like in elementary school. Macy's mom passes away, and her mom left like this list of things that she wanted Macy to like accomplish and do in her life without her. And one of those things was to get like a weekend getaway house where they could go and relax. So her and her dad got this like lake house, I think, and her next door neighbor happened to be this boy named Elliot, and they start hanging out, they read together, they literally grow up together. It's kind of obvious they've always had a crush on each other, but they didn't know because they were so young. They hit high school, they start exploring their relationship a little bit. Something happens, and then they don't speak for 11 years, I think. And you don't know what happened because it's flashing back and forth, and so you don't get to find out till the very end, like the build-up. But I was obsessed with this book. I couldn't put it down. I was so addicted. I read it in one sitting, and when I say I read it in one sitting, I mean I started it in the middle of the day, and I read it until like the middle of the night when it was pitch black outside without stopping. Didn't move from my bed, and then I proceeded to make my best friend read it immediately after me, like the next day, and she also read it in one sitting. And I just really love this book, and I could not recommend it enough. It's definitely 5 stars. It's not like a fluffy romance, but it won't make you cry. It's like just amazingly done. This is definitely my favorite book by Christina Lauren ever. Next, I was super late to this book. I know it was like trending in 2019 maybe. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. I really didn't expect to love it because I thought I was gonna be bored because it's not really a romance, but I did a reading vlog reading this, and you could see like how moved I was by it. I bawled my eyes out. I became so attached to the characters. This book is so unique and unlike anything I've ever read. It's told like interview style, where you get the perspective of Monique, who is interviewing Evelyn Hugo. And Evelyn Hugo, she was the biggest actress in Hollywood. And then it flashes back, and it's basically like you're in Evelyn Hugo's perspective at that time. It tells a story in like the sequence of her husbands and why she did all the things she had to do. I learned so many life lessons from this book, and there's a plot twist. Oh my god, it was so good. The characters, there is a love story in this, and the quotes in this book, oh my god, I could not recommend it enough. Even if you're mostly just a romance reader, this does have romance like as a subplot, but instead of like a cute story, it's more like a moving, realistic story. It has like friendships and all different kinds of relationships. I've never annotated a book as much as I've annotated this one, so if that says anything, then definitely read it. It's by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Love her. Then I have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This was my first book I read by the author, and then I proceeded to read 4 more after. But this is the first book in a series that is not out yet. I'm so excited for the rest of it to come out, but this one was so good. It is workplace romance, enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine, boss and employee. He is like a huge CEO of basically like Disneyland, but in this fictional world, and all he cares about is like money. And then Zara is the employee, and she's so happy and cute, but also like not afraid to stand up to him, and he like sees something in her, and then there's a connection between them that they find out later. This has like that plot where it's like you're in love with someone through letters or online, and then you don't realize it's them in real life. But I definitely recommend this one. If you're in a reading slump, I feel like this would immediately suck you out of it. It's so like addicting, like chapter to chapter, you just have to keep reading. It was so fun to read because it's like so many different storylines happening with the same 2 characters who hate each other in real life, and then they're talking online. Oh my god, so good. And then his character development. Okay, then we have a Colleen Hoover book, and I feel weird always including Colleen Hoover books because in my opinion, every single Colleen Hoover book I've ever read for the most part is a 5-star read. So I picked the ones that like stand out even more from the other Colleen Hoover books. So I read Confess. This book was also one of the ones I just could not put down. This one is like not as sad, not as like groundbreaking as Colleen Hoover's other books. This book is about Auburn, and she moves to this new town. She doesn't know anyone, and you don't really know why, and that's what you're trying to figure out, and you slowly see why and what happened, and there's like a flashback, and then she meets Owen, who I became obsessed with when I was reading this book. But you can tell he's hiding things, she's hiding things, and he is an artist, and he basically paints people's anonymous confessions. So people will like confess like their greatest secrets to him, and he'll just paint them. Some plot twists in here, a lot of secrets unveiled, but I really liked the romance, the story, the characters. I'd give it 5 stars, but it doesn't top my other favorite Colleen Hoover books like Ugly Love, All Your Perfects, and November 9, but it's still 5 stars. Okay, next is Normal People, which I've talked about a lot recently, so I'm not gonna go too in depth, but this book is one I gave a reread and realized how much more I loved it now that I can really relate to it, which is sad because this is a depressing book. It's actually not depressing, it's more of a coming of age than a romance, but it is fully based on a romance between 2 characters over a span of a long time, many years, high school to after college. I just see myself so deeply in both of these characters that it's like I can't help but be so attached to it. It's character driven, so the entire book is literally just following 2 characters, not really a plot, which I actually really enjoy. A lot of people think it's overhyped. I don't, probably because I relate to it, unfortunately. I love this book with my whole heart and soul. Again, one of the books that I really annotated, and I think it's just because I relate to it so much now, and like the ending, oh my god, it literally makes my chest hurt. If you don't really think you would enjoy a book like this, because you're more of like a fluffy romance reader more than a coming of age novel, I really recommend watching the mini-series on Hulu. It is one of the best book adaptations I've ever seen, most accurate. It's only a few episodes. Please watch it. The cinematography in it too, so good, so deep and moving, and it's about like how someone changes from high school to college to post-grad through their relationships, through their personal struggles, and it's just focused on these 2 characters, and it's so good. Okay, then I have this Spanish Love Deception. This is just a happy, fun, cute, enemies to lovers, slow burn, fake dating romance that I've talked about a lot on my channel because I fell in love with it. The reason I love this book so much is so good. Okay, then I have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid as well. I read this immediately after reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so you can tell I was in pain that week. I love this one even more than I love The 7 Husbands. I don't know why, I just really enjoyed this story, but I just could not get enough of this book. I think because I listened to the audiobook as I was reading it as well, like I was like switching back and forth, and the audiobook is insane. It feels like you can envision it perfectly because each character has a different voice on the audiobook, and it feels like you're watching a documentary, and I just have it pictured in my head so perfectly and vividly. Like even when the characters like are speaking, it sounds like they're talking to each other. It's so conversational in the audiobook. They're like laughing and joking and telling stories, like so good. The audiobook is literally genius. I just really loved it. And there is romance, but again, not the main plot, and it's not like a happy cute romance. It's more of like character development, learning, and everything they go through with drug use, rising to fame, love, hate, everything. It's a couple weeks later, and this video was pre-filmed like 2 months ago in a different country, and now it's 2 months later, and I have one more 5-star read to add to this list that I've read since then, which is Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, of course. This book came out in January. I read it right away, and I had to include it in this video because as I was editing, I was like, it just doesn't feel right to not include it. I cried in this book. It's not like a plot twist sad like her normal books, but it's kind of just like depressing like the whole time you're reading it. So this book is about Kenna. She moves back to the town she's from after serving 5 years in jail, and you're like, what did she do? And she mentions that she has a daughter and she's coming back for her, but everyone in her life before has completely shut her out, all because of this one mistake she made. But as soon as she gets back to this town, starts going by a different name and kind of staying out of the way, so no one from her previous life knows she's there. But she is on a quest to find her daughter, and she's going by a different name, and she meets this guy named Ledger, and he's like the only person that's kind of like caring towards her. There's like an instant attraction between them, but Kenna has like a one-track mind of just trying to find her daughter. Kenna puts pieces together and realizes who Ledger is in connection to her old life, but he doesn't know who she is, and their romance kind of unfolds, but obviously there's secrets being kept, and those secrets come out. This book is just really frustrating because you want to know, like, why does no one trust Kenna? Why does no one like her? Like, I love her, she's so sweet, and I know she would never do anything wrong on purpose. And so you're trying to figure it out. You're also falling in love with the couple, and like, you know there's secrets being held, and you're rooting for her to get to see her daughter. This trope is like so unique. I don't even want to say what it is. Like, who the romance is between in relation to her old life is so crazy. And it was just really, really good. And I read it in one sitting, like the rest of my 5-star reads. It's just pretty depressing, but like most of Colleen Hoover's books, there's always a tied together ending. So at least you have that to look forward to. I literally would like read a paragraph of like Kenna's desperation and just start bawling my eyes out. It really teaches you how one mistake can change the way people treat you forever. Colleen Hoover did it again with this one, and I had to include it in this video.
Hey, it's me editing, wanting to say that this book, Reminders of Him, is literally a combination of Confess and November 9. Like, if you put those books together, I feel like it would be Reminders of Him, which makes sense because they're all by Colleen Hoover. But like the tropes and the characters, just, it really reminds me of those two books, especially Confess. They're like super similar. So yeah, if you like those two books, definitely read this one.
I'm not done yet, but those are like my main 5-star books. Like through and through, I gave each of these 5 stars, but I wanted to mention 5 more books that I'm like on the fence. Like, are they 5 stars? Are they 4.75? Like, it's like I can't choose. Like some days I'm like, oh my god, I can't stop thinking about it. And then some days I'm like, no, it's not as good as these 5 stars, you know? So these are like 4.75, maybe even a 4.9, but they don't amount to these 5 stars, but they're still so perfect that I'm gonna include them anyway. So first we have Wait For It by Mariana Zapata. Slow burn, classic, you know how she writes. Basically single parent trope, but Diana is actually an aunt taking care of her brother that passed away, his 2 sons, and she's like navigating becoming like a mom or like a mother figure now. And she moves into this house, she meets Dallas, who is her neighbor. It's their romance very slowly. What I really loved about this book is the family relationship, Dallas's relationship with her kids, and then how slowly their relationship started to develop. I really liked Diana because she was super independent and she didn't want to rely on anyone, and I found that like very relatable and also like a cool trait. Like she just wanted to be self-sufficient, she didn't want this relationship, but she couldn't stay away, and she realized like she doesn't need to do everything on her own. Dallas ends up being her nephew's baseball coach, so there's like a forced proximity there, and there's a lot of jealousy. Loved every second of it, even though it's very long and can be very tedious because it's like, oh my god, when is the romance gonna start? When is the romance gonna start? But I wasn't even thinking that like I do with some Mariana Zapata books. This one I was mostly just like so intrigued by the characters that I was never really bored, so love that. Then I have Most of All You by Mia Sheridan. If you don't know, Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan is one of my all-time favorite books. It is incredible. It's good boy, bad girl, and so is this. But something about like the angel boy, like something about the good boy trope is so special to me, and I say this all the time. I just love the sweet boy trope, and she has been through it. She has a really rough upbringing. He has really traumatic past. They're just very, very damaged and very broken people that have been through bad things. Especially with her, she's very reserved from being in a relationship. She does not want to be in one at all. She ends up getting injured and he saves her, and he's kind of like helping her get better, and he just like falls in love with her, and it's so cute, and she's so scared of love, but he is like the sweetest boy, and I just love this book so much. Again, couldn't put it down. That's a common theme with these. With this one especially, it's just because it's very unique too. Crystal like had a traumatic past where she thinks love can only end badly, and she's kind of like numb to all feelings, and she's like closed herself off from forming any connections at all. She's basically just on her own, and the only person that's ever sparked anything in her is Gabriel, and she's kind of scared of that and pulling away, but he's adamant, he's not giving up. He just sees something in her, and he is just like had the worst experiences in his life and is somehow still like the most pure angel ever, and I just love this book. I recommend it. If you loved Archer's Voice, you'll love this one. If you love good boy, bad girl, not really bad girl, but like, you know what I mean, then you'll love this. And last but not least is Redeemed by Lauren Asher. Second Lauren Asher book in this video. This is the last book in the Dirty Air series. It was my favorite, of course. This is fake dating trope with also forced proximity. Basically, the guy in this book has been through something really traumatic, and he has complete like life change and personality change because of it. He literally becomes like a hermit, stays in his house, and is completely like negatively affected by what happened to him. He has like no self-confidence. Chloe is on a mission to find her biological father, and so she moves from America to Italy, and she ends up accidentally pretty much breaking into Santi's house, and that's how they meet. They start off by fake dating, but they have a connection that builds very quickly, and she really like brings him out of his shell. This book has such good character development, and I don't know how to explain it without like spoiling it, because you have to read the entire series before you even get to this one. The entire Dirty Air series is amazing, so you should read it, but you should read it especially just so you could get to the 4th book and read Santi and Chloe's story, because I loved it so much. But that that is officially the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of my updated 5-star reads. These are just in addition to the ones I've already talked about in my last video, which I'll link in the description. But yeah, I know this video has been very requested and I'm sorry it took so long. I just want to make sure there was enough books in this video before I filmed one. There'll definitely be more parts to this video as time goes on and I find more books I love. So I hope you will check out these books. I really, really do. They're all incredible. That's the end of today's video. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they're all linked down below as always. And I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Bye!